I'm not really sure where I'm going to be able to hide this nitrous bottle in this car. Maybe under the front seat? Probably in the trunk. This is an awesome car, but like I said, when I bought the Corvette, one would stay and one would possibly go. I wasn't necessarily kicking this one out. I love this car. I am such a fan of the SN95 body style, and especially the 94, 95 Cobras. They will always have a special place in my heart. I mean, these were the cars that came out when I was graduating high school, and I just dated myself, and that's okay. Such cool cars, but they are kind of a body style that you either really, really love or you are not into it at all. But I do love these cars so much. However, I just happened upon another vehicle that is on my bucket list, and the gentleman and I got to talking. He had it for sale, and I just casually asked, "Are you open to trades?" And he said yes, so we swapped pictures. He was interested, I was interested. I guess you could call it kismet. So we've just swapped pictures of each other's cars and a little bit of video here and there. So it will really come down to the inspection, I guess, in person. And let's see how well each one was represented. I feel like he was pretty honest. I know that I was as honest as I could be. But you know, you never know in these situations until you get there in front of the car. So I'm going to finish loading up and we'll hit the road. And in about 4 or 5 hours from now, I may or may not have another car loaded on this trailer. Stay tuned. I've made it home finally, and oh no, it's too dark outside for you to see what's on the trailer. So I'm just gonna have to show you tomorrow. What's in the box? What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my teeny tiny automotive channel. Sadly, the Cobra is gone, but I've replaced it with a 55 T-Bird. How cool is that? If you've been following along on the channel, you know that when I bought the Corvette, I hadn't really planned on keeping both the Corvette and the Cobra. I was gonna kind of just drive both and decide which one was gonna fit my needs more. And then I kind of got to a position where I really, really liked that Cobra and I didn't want to get rid of it. So I took the listing down and I kept the car and just put some more miles on it and continued to enjoy it. And then I got on Facebook again. And of course, as car people, we know that getting on Facebook can be very dangerous. So I was scrolling through, and one of the pages that I'm on, which is a Thunderbird page, I saw an ad for this car. And, you know, I kind of skimmed through it real quick because this is a car that I've always been interested in. Didn't really have any plans of going out and buying it or anything, but I just wanted to see what was out there. And it was, you know, good looking car in the pictures and everything. And I just kept on scrolling. Fast forward to, I don't know, a few days, maybe a week later, the same car popped up in another group that I'm in. And for whatever reason, I just made a comment, hey, are you interested in trades? And the gentleman reached out, asked me what I had, and I sent him pictures of the Cobra. And long story short, he was interested in mine, I was interested in his, and we swapped. Even Steven. This car came out of southern Louisiana. We ended up meeting down in Conroe. I trailered mine down, he trailered his down, and we met up and made the exchange. Also, if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that my dad has a 56 Thunderbird, and I've been going over there a little bit and kind of working with him and helping him with that car. And we finally got it roadworthy and took it for a putt around the neighborhood. So that was really, really cool that we got that thing on the road again. A little part of me was jealous when he was able to find that car at such a steal. And I looked on Facebook for probably a few weeks afterwards, just seeing what was out there. And then it, you know, kind of just disappeared from my mind. But I've always loved these cars. And this car in particular, it's got good bones. You know, it's the paint job. If you are standing about 50 feet away, looks great. If you get up close, it's a train wreck. Someone literally took a paintbrush, and wherever there was a chip or something like that, they dipped the brush into a can of paint, which I actually have, and like just brushed it right over, you know, whatever chip or scratch. I mean, just with a paintbrush. Like, come on. In hindsight, I guess I appreciate that, and they didn't leave it bare metal to just rust away. Maybe that's all they had access to was a paintbrush and didn't know any better, but I feel like there's other ways that could have been handled. So I drove all the way down and met the guy, and we swapped cars, and it fired right up. My dad actually backed it out of the trailer, took it for a little putt around the parking lot, checked it out, and drove it onto my trailer. Well, when I got home, it was about a 4-hour drive to get home, and it was dark when I got back, which is always not a good situation to be unloading cars and stuff like that in. But I figure, okay, not a big deal. It runs. I'll just hop in, back it off, and pull it around into the garage. No, the car had other plans. I went to start the car, and it started just lurching. So, okay, maybe I have it in gear, got it in neutral, went to turn the key, nothing. All right, maybe the battery went dead or something. I don't know. At this point, I grabbed my jumper box, hooked it to the battery, and usually you turn it on, then you go and get in the car and put the key in. Well, as soon as I turned the battery pack on, the engine started just turning over. And for the life of me, I could not figure out what the heck was going on. Well, it turns out it was something stupid. It's something simple. It's the starter relay was just stuck. My dad was nice enough to come all the way back up and take one of my pairs of pliers and give the relay a smack, and it stopped doing that. So I've since replaced it and spent the better part of about 2 days just kind of going through this car, cleaning things up, painting a couple pieces underneath the battery area because I had to pull it out and charge it anyway. So while I'm in there, you know, with these old cars, it's a slippery slope. You take one thing apart, you plan on just doing that piece and putting it back in. Well, you take that piece out and you notice something underneath it. Oh, while I'm here, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And you take that part. While I'm here, I'm gonna do this one too, because it's right there. And it spirals out of control. I got into this situation once before, years and years ago, with my 1957 Chevy 150. And what started out as, I'm just gonna freshen up a couple things, ended up being a full-on frame-off restoration, or the beginnings of. Overall, I mean, the car is in pretty good shape. Now, the metal is solid. There's a small little Bondo spot here, and I think there's one more little Bondo spot right in here. Other than that, this thing is solid for a car that's, you know, was built in October of 1954. It's held up pretty well. And, you know, a couple little rust spots, one small one over here and on the inside, but that's really about it. So you can see where I've already started kind of cleaning stuff up and painting it. And, you know, I had to redo and make another battery cable, put the new relay in, cleaned up some of the fittings on the end of the wires there. Nothing crazy yet. Like I said, the car does run. The plan with this thing is really just to use it as is. All of the switches on the inside for the windows, those work. You know, lights, stuff like that, that all works. It's got a new gas tank. Somebody did the brakes. Somebody spent a little time with this car, and the gentleman that had it before me used to just kind of use it on the weekend. I'm just gonna drive it as is. I don't care about the paint on this car, or, you know, that's why I put my little goofy Band-Aids on there. It's, you know, just laughing at myself and the situation. So what? The only things I really want to do, a new set of wheels, just kind of a hot rod style wheel, and maybe swap the steering wheel. Although the steering wheel's not that bad. This car has power steering, so it's pretty easy to turn. Maybe I'll just leave that for now and just do a set of wheels and tires. So I'm kind of shopping around looking for just a kind of a nostalgia look, like this car would have been kind of hot rodded in, I don't know, maybe the late 60s or early 70s. This motor is a little bit deceiving because this car would have come with a 292, but this is a 312 out of a 57 T-Bird. Now, somebody else has also swapped the carburetor because it's got a 600 Edelbrock on it, and it's got you know, an updated ignition coil and resistor and distributor and stuff. But I'm not a purist, so that stuff doesn't bother me at all. That's just hot rodding. That's cool. I'm gonna leave every bit of it. So that's the overall plan with this thing, just to kind of, I would like to get the stance a little bit lower. I think if I'm gonna put some hot rod wheels on it, I gotta give it that hot rod stance, little bit of a rake. These cars have leaf springs in the back and coil springs up front. So hell, maybe the Ibrox springs that I took off the Cobra will fit the front of this and give it the rake that I want. I don't know, but I'm gonna find out. And if it does work, then look for a video on that of how to lower your 55 T-Bird. I got the hard top, and I have the soft top frame, sits down underneath the seat back here. I have a brand new canvas top to put on that frame, but this hard top, you know, she needs a little love. Obviously, it needs some upholstery help, if you will. It needs some fiberglass work. It's got a crack here and up where the latches go. But that's stuff that I can actually do myself. I was contemplating trying to put the canvas top on that frame myself as well. It's just getting it stretched correctly and then putting the hog rings where they go, and just, I mean, how hard can it really be? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I'm gonna take that on myself or if I will see if I can find a local shop that can do it for fairly cheap. But I do need to kind of set that as a priority, because if I'm going to drive this, I'm not gonna use the hard top right away. This will probably be like a winter project and just have the soft top that I can just pull up if I get caught in a rainstorm or something goofy. But here she is. 1955 Ford Thunderbird. I love this thing. It's just, it's the epitome of Tri-5 cool. The oil was changed, let's see, back in February 2nd of 1993. Woohoo! Well, the car's only got 28,000 miles on it, so I guess we should be good to go then, huh? So there it is. If you like this stuff, if you like T-Birds or Mustangs, Fox bodies, Corvettes, Ferraris. Just if you're a general car enthusiast, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and follow along with the stuff that I'm working on. Thanks so much for watching. Stay hungry, stay foolish.